What is up, everyone? Welcome back to some movie news, and actually there is a lot going on. So sorry I didn't get this out to you as early as I should have. I was actually gone for the weekend, and then I was also making note of everything that came out, and suddenly we were over 40 different topics, and there was just too much to go through. So I'm actually going to be splitting the topics of discussion for today, and then I'm actually going to make a second video this upcoming Saturday with all the rest of it. Today we're going to be talking over topics such as The Last of Us Season 2, Dune 3, and news over Dune 4. We got Avatar: The Last Airbender. We got some Marvel news that we're going to be discussing, as well as some other smaller projects that you guys will want to stay tuned. And there's just a lot to go over. So without a further ado, let's get into some movie news. Starting off with new movie news, I got a couple of quick snippets that I want to talk about right off the bat, or should I say because this new movie is called GOAT, and it's made by Sony Pictures. This movie is actually going to be produced by Stephen Curry, and this movie is going to be animated, and it looks to me like it's going to be a Looney Tunes or a Zootopia movie of basketball. And again, there is no synopsis for this film, so I have no idea what to expect, but Stephen Curry is a part of this film, producing it, and it's just a GOAT playing basketball because he is the greatest of all time. So that was all the information that was given about this project, but we did get some more information about the release date. It's actually coming out on February 13th, 2026, so we got over or almost under a year of it, and so we got a while to wait. It's not coming out just this year, but it is a new project that if you like animated projects and want to see more basketball based, to me it looks like a Zootopia film with basketball. So there is that. The people that are working on this movie are actually Tyree Dillahay, and he actually did get an Emmy for Bob's Burgers movie that came out a couple of years ago. And then the other person that worked on this is actually Adam Rossetti, and he worked on The Wild Robot and The Dog Man that came out this past year. So let me know if you're actually even excited for this film. I don't have much to say about this because we don't know much about it except for the poster that we did get. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this film? Because I really don't have anything just yet, but that is something I wanted to mention to you guys, so look forward to, just in case you are interested about a Stephen Curry movie featuring a GOAT playing basketball. Speaking of The Wild Robot, we did get a quick update on the sequel to this film, and DreamWorks did say they are working on getting a sequel out. Now, this isn't really a surprise to me because this was nominated for an Oscar for the Best Animated Movie, and truthfully, I think this movie deserves to win that category this year at the Oscars, and I'm super excited about seeing the second part of this story. The character dynamics, the animation, and just the sheer storytelling of the first movie really got me hooked to these characters, so I'm really excited to see what they can do with this movie. They do have this based off of a book series, and I've never read it, so I actually don't know what's going to happen in the second movie. If you guys do know, tell me, are you excited about where they're going or where they could potentially go with this story? Do you think it'll be different from the books? Because I have not read any of the books. I know nothing about it, but I did love the first movie, and so I'm ready to see a second one. So tell me your thoughts about the sequel to A Wild Robot. Gearing up for the next set of movie news, we're actually going to be talking about Alien Romulus, but not actually Alien Romulus, but instead of its sequel. We don't actually have a title for this movie yet, but director Fede Alvarez is returning for the sequel, and he actually had an interview with The Collider this past week, and he started talking about even filming this year. Now, before we get into that quick discussion, this movie, I'm not surprised that they are doing a sequel. It had a fantastic run in the box office, and they made way more than what they actually put into the film. So the sequel was inevitable, but they did say they're looking to film this year in Q3 or Q4, meaning at the end of the summer or in the winter. However, there was one caveat with this information. They said only if the VFX team for the Alien Romulus would return and have time to work on it this year. So it does look like we might actually get Alien Romulus sooner than what we thought, and the fact that we're actually even about to film potentially this year is crazy to me. Now, there is still a lot of hoops to jump through for this film to actually get started, but it does look like Q3 and Q4 of this year, they might be working on it, and we might actually get a release, or it released in 2026 or 2027. So, let me know your thoughts on this news. Since that was all the news we had about alien movies, I actually want to switch over to the Monsterverse. And the Monsterverse, we actually had a couple movies released. We have Godzilla x Kong sequel coming out, but they do have one show in the Monsterverse called MONARCH. Now, maybe not a lot of people know about this, but MONARCH is a series part of the Monsterverse. And the first season had Godzilla, and they split across different times. It's on Apple TV, and while I necessarily wasn't a huge fan of this show, they did end it on a way where I was actually excited to see what the second season would bring. They ended it on potential topics, bringing in other characters, because the first season was focused on one monster alone, and that was Godzilla. The second one, they potentially left the door open for King Kong to come in, and I like King Kong way more than Godzilla, so I am super excited that he actually might be brought in. But filming for this has completely finished, and I want to know if you've seen the first season. Are you excited for the second one, potentially bringing in King Kong? Another project in the Monsterverse I'm actually super interested to watch is Godzilla x Kong: A New Empire's sequel. This one is following up the movie that just came out last year, and I'm actually super excited for this film because I liked the last one. Now, we did get a new casting information with Josh O'Connell reportedly joining the cast, and I haven't seen him in anything, but he is going to be in the new Ryan Coogler movie called Sinners with Michael B. Jordan. I'm pretty sure he's playing the antagonist, so that'll be cool to see him in this one before he's actually in this next movie. And then he was also in the Ferrari movie with Adam Driver. And now, I did look into this, and it says he's reportedly playing the brother of Caitlin Dever in this film, who's also going to be another human character. And so I'm super interested to see what that has to do and that little aspect and character dynamic there. But we'll see. I have nothing really more to go off of than that. And so let me know if you actually know anything about this actor or have known his past work in anything, because I'd like to see what you think about his addition to the cast of the new movie. Moving on to another project I know nothing about is actually Another Simple Favor. Another Simple Favor actually is a sequel to the first film, which is called A Simple Favor, who stars Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively. Now, they are returning, but just in case you guys don't know what the first film is, I'm actually going to read a synopsis I pulled online because I don't know anything about the first one, which reads this. The first film follows Anna Kendrick's character named Stephanie, who's a single mother. She has a parenting vlog and then ends up befriending Blake Lively's character named Emily. Emily, who is a secretive upperclassman woman who has had a child at the same school. Although when Emily goes missing, Stephanie takes it upon herself to investigate Emily's strange disappearance. Now, that is the official synopsis of the first movie that I read. I don't know much about anything else of this franchise or whether it's even deserving of a sequel. However, it does look like in this first look poster that they are taking this to Italy, and it is following the same characters, which should be good for fans for the first film. I don't know anyone that's actually watched the first movie, but if you have, let me know if you enjoyed it. And then the other part of this movie news that actually kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth automatically is that it is going to be an Amazon Prime movie. I do like their shows that they release, but typically streaming movies for me just don't work. I don't like when other big streaming services take movies into their own hands and then release them themselves. I'd rather them just be released theatrically by a movie studio, but instead Amazon Prime is taking this one, so you'd be able to stream it already out of the gate. So I think this one does come out in April or May this year. It says it on the poster. I don't know. I probably won't be checking this one out, but for those of you who are excited for this film, what are your thoughts, and do you think this movie deserves to be on Amazon or theatrically released like we've talked about? On to a movie that no one, literally no one has asked for is, I guess, a sequel to Alexander and the Terrible, the Horrible, the No Good, the Very Bad Day. This movie title is awful, but they're doing a sequel or another reboot of some sort. I don't really know much on Disney Plus. No one asked for it. Now, this one is going to be following a kid named Alexander again, but it's actually going to be called The Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Road Trip. Disney, what are we doing? Like, no one asked for this. That's why apparently it's going on to Disney Plus on March 28th. But like, are we seriously running out of ideas for streaming movies? Like, you gotta be kidding me. This is what we're resulting to? Get better. Like, come on. So, anyways, if you're looking for a bad film, I think this one will be it. I don't know. Let me know if you're even familiar or excited with this film. I don't know anyone who actually is, though. Moving on from week to peak, we actually got the update on the Odyssey. Now, we got a first look image, and this is what it looks like as Matt Damon suiting up for Odysseus. Now, I am super excited for this film, partly because Christopher Nolan, again, is one of those better working directors of this time, and I really have enjoyed the past couple of things that he's done, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with this film. Now, I'm actually super excited because of this first look also tells us that it's going to be more fantastical and more Greek mythology based than it is going to be a modern storytelling or modern retelling of the original stuff. And I actually read the original book or play in my classes at school. So let me know if you have any experience with the book or the story in itself, or did you even have to read it at school at all? Some of us didn't have to, some of us did, but I was one of those people that did, and I'm super excited for this film. We also got an additional casting member of Mia Goth. She's joining John Bernthal, Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, all of the other people. And so that is what's also coming out soon, and I am super excited for it. July 17th, I will be in my chair for this film in 2026. Starting with Dune 3 news, we're actually going to be talking about this sci-fi epic, and it looks like they're going to start filming this summer, which is really interesting. However, from Deadline, who is an official Hollywood reporter source, this is not speculation, this is real. They said that June is actually too early to be filming this summer, so to actually look like even July or August. Now, this is really interesting because we did just get the second movie last year, meaning that we'll probably get this new movie either early in 2027 or late 2026. Either way, I'm excited for it. Now, we also did get some extra information saying that, and this is just speculation, this isn't confirmed yet, but the first part is that Jason Momoa may be returning. I'm not 100% sure if this is completely true. I did see a couple of sources reporting this on Twitter. However, I didn't see it releasing on big headlines, so it's not 100% true yet. But Jason Momoa actually may return for the franchise on Dune 3, which is super interesting. Now we're going to be talking about Dune 4. On to Dune 4 news. We have gotten news saying that Denis Villeneuve, who has actually done the first 3 movies, or first 2 movies officially currently, he's going to be working on the third one, that he is not returning for a 4th one. Now, Dune is one of those big franchises recently that have been popping out everywhere, and so I think Warner Brothers want to continue making money off of this franchise while they still can. So we did get confirmation that Dune 4 is actually in the works, which is good. I have heard that most people are not a fan of the books after Paul Atreides is left in the dust, which is gonna be this Dune 3, the conclusion of Paul Atreides' story. And so this one will actually follow his kids, and I heard this is not typically suitable for an actual live action movie, so I don't know if they're gonna be tweaking anything, or I don't know if they're just gonna go off on their own path. But Dune 4 typically is not going to be something or very grounded as much as we've seen Paul Atreides' stories to be. I don't think that this will be anything crazy, but since Denis Villeneuve isn't returning for the 4th film and he wants to finish out Paul Atreides' arc and then leave the franchise, that means we have to have an opening for a new director. And so let's talk about the new director. So it has been reported from a scooper called Daniel RPK. He is one of those most reliable scoopers out there. Everything that he typically posts or has put on his website is usually super reliable for the most part, unless you've heard otherwise. Now, he does miss some things up, or some of the things that he does talk about don't always come true. But he did say that Gareth Edwards, who has been directing Jurassic World, the Rebirth one that's coming out this year, is in talks to direct Dune 4. Now, for those of you who don't know, Gareth Edwards actually also has already done a sci-fi movie. It's called something little like a Rogue One Star Wars story, something like that. But he has done sci-fi work in the past, and so I'm super excited to see what he can bring, because cinematography is important. If you've seen any shots in Rogue One, the film is beautiful to look at. Like, there are some great shots, as well as him in the trailers for Jurassic World Rebirth. I really liked most of the shots that he did with the cinematography and everything. And following up Denis Villeneuve, you're gonna need that in the Dune franchise. That's like what this franchise is known for at this point, as well as the great storytelling. So if this is the guy that we're talking about following him up, I kind of like that decision. I understand that most people would not, because he's not a favorite director for everyone. He has made some questionable things, but I do like what this early talk and discussion is being. I won't say that this is confirmed because it's not, but let me know your opinion on Gareth Edwards potentially doing Dune 4 and even leaning into more of the sci-fi heavy stuff, where there is a story where Paul Atreides' son is actually an earthworm. I don't know. Didn't read the books. I'm kind of on the outside of the Dune franchise for the most part. I have seen the movies, but I think that he could do a really good job with the horror aspect as well as the cinematography. So I want to hear what you have to say about this Dune 4 movie. Now for a bunch of TV news. We're going to take a break from the movie news side of things, and we're going to be talking about a lot of TV news. There's just a lot going on different streaming services with major franchises. And so the first one is actually going to be a reboot for the Blue Mountain State show. Now, I've never watched the first one. I don't even know anything about this. Again, I'm kind of slacking on some of these projects. But a Blue Mountain State is featuring Alan Richardson, who is like Reacher currently, and I really like that show, and I'm excited to see what he can do in this new season. And if he's returning for another show that he thinks will do well, I'm excited for him. They did say that they were wanting to get the story right before they officially do this show, but it is in the works behind the scenes at Amazon. And so if you've seen the original show, are you excited? Now, the next show that we're going to be talking about is something super interesting and super important. However, it doesn't have a name just yet. So you may be asking yourself, why are we even talking about this show? Well, it is being made by Vince Gilligan. Vince Gilligan is one of those legendary creators of all time because he made the shows like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And then he also made a movie called El Camino. And a lot of those projects I am a huge fan of. And so he's said to be doing a new project starring Rhea Seehorn, who was in the Better Call Saul show. And I was a huge fan of that show in the first place. And she was a good actress in that show. And so this new project is said to be a psychological sci-fi show. Yeah. I'm game for it. I don't know much about what the show is even about, and already I can tell you I am. And this is going to be an Apple TV Plus show, so you'll have to have an Apple TV subscription to actually watch it. But with track records such as Severance, maybe Defending Jacob, or even Ted Lasso, I'm totally in for almost all the shows that Apple actually puts out. And so this will be something really interesting to keep an eye on, because he is a legendary creator, and if he has a plan, he can do it. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you interested in seeing this show, or would you rather him do something in the Better Call Saul universe or Breaking Bad universe and expand that lore instead of focusing on something new? The next show we're going to be talking about is actually a show from the Boys universe, or the Gen V universe. And this is going to be a prequel show following Soldier Boy and Stormfront, and it takes place in the 1950s, and it's going to be a murder mystery show. Now, The Boys is one of those dark superhero satire shows, and so this one will be a prequel of that, since the original show is coming to a conclusion with this new season about to be released. And so there is a lot going on here, but there's not a lot of information on this show itself. It is a murder mystery like we've talked about. However, this show is going to start filming in August. Now, The Boys' actual show is already almost done filming and has been filming for a while now. So this new show is filming in August, and that is all we have really going on with this show just for right now. But it will be super interesting to follow the behind the scenes and to see if they're going to be doing any more spin-off shows like we've talked about. So, are you excited to see them do a prequel series for The Boys, or are you going to be kind of nervous to see them continue this show on, or this universe on, after the main show has ended. Let me know, because this is something super interesting to see, whether you're on the side of just ending the show with how it is, or you're excited to see something new in this universe as it is. Another TV show that we have to talk about this week is actually The Last of Us Season 2. Now, The Last of Us Season 1 was one of those shows that I absolutely loved, and I played the first game, and then I got to the part in the second game, and if you know what part I'm talking about, I turned it off and never finished it. So, if this show follows that route, I don't know how this show will be received at all, but I am excited for it as of this moment. And so we actually got our first look posters for Season 2, and so this right here are some of the posters that we actually got. Now, again, this show shows up on April 13th on Max. This comes out super quickly and super soon, and I am both nervous but really excited for this show. They also did say they have plans for about 4 seasons of this show currently, so it could go on further than what we think, or they could elongate some of the things that happened in the second game and make 3 seasons out of it. I have no idea, but I am excited for this show. Let me know your thoughts on The Last of Us right now, and let me know if you've played the games or if you're kind of staying away from spoilers on the games, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about Season 2. If you like the 2023 movie Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, you will probably hate this news, because we will probably not be getting a sequel to that movie. So, what are we talking about Dungeons & Dragons for then? Well, we actually got a new show called Dungeons & Dragons: The Forgotten Realms, and this is going to be super interesting because we actually got director Sean Levy, who did the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. He's coming back, and he's doing a Dungeons & Dragons show for Netflix. Now, they did say they're hoping that this will spin off a huge franchise, so that's why I don't think the Dungeons & Dragons 2023 movie is ever going to get a sequel, because they also said that was not part of this new universe. And I'm actually super interested, especially because Sean Levy originally said that his next project that he was going to be a part of was bring in Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman to do a boy band movie. I don't know why he suddenly switched gears. It's probably because of the controversy going online with Ryan Reynolds itself. But I'm actually super interested to see what he has to offer with this show. He also was part of like the Stranger Things, and one of the big parts of Stranger Things was the Demogorgons and the little aspects of Dungeons and Dragons added in there. And maybe he'll have more fun with this than we actually think. It'll maybe will be way better than what we potentially think. But let me know if you like Dungeons and Dragons. Are you excited for even this show to go off and spin off a whole potential universe? I don't think I really am interested in it, but if Sean Levy's doing it, maybe it'll be good. Now, when we're talking about shows that I'm actually super excited for, and I can't wait for them to release, we got to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I'm super excited for this franchise to return. We've already got a movie confirmation coming out in the next couple of years. I've even read the books, and even I watched Korra and read the books for Korra as well. And so there's just a lot of things of this franchise I really enjoyed. Now, I will go on record and say Korra was kind of a disappointment for me, but this new show that they announced is actually going to be a sequel to Legends of Korra, and right now we got 26 episodes confirmed across 2 different seasons, and so that means 13 episodes per season, and we got a huge synopsis with this show that I can't believe. We'll have to read it real quick, so here is the rundown. A world shattered by a devastating cataclysm, a young earthbender discovers she's the new avatar after Korra. But in this dangerous era, that title marks her as humanity's destroyer, not its savior. Hunted by both humans and spirit enemies, she and her long-lost twin must uncover their mysterious origins and save the 7 heavens before civilization's last stronghold collapses. So, it looks like whatever happens in this show, Korra is at the center of it, destroying the world, and she was not my favorite avatar. So the fact that we actually get to see her maybe potentially destroying the world, I think there's going to be a reason for her doing it. I don't think she will be the bad guy. I think something must have happened in her timeline to where she died and she got framed for something. But if she did do something wrong, I'd like to see what it is. Now, we did get also confirmed that Dave Bautista is going to be starring in this show as well. and it's going to be falling across 2 different twins. So there are playing about 2 avatars in this universe or this timeline. And so with 2 twin avatars, the dynamics in this show are going to be insane. I can't wait for them to take their time, but I want this show out as soon as possible. And I can't wait for more Avatar in my life. Now, we are getting the actual live action show as we speak. We're talking about the first season of the live action Avatar that has just came out a couple months back. We are getting a second season with the introduction of Toph, but this show does not live up to the hype, and I want more new original Avatar material, and so this, we're getting it, and I can't wait to see more Avatar shows in the future. The next project we're going to be talking about for TV news is actually part of a franchise. We all know it. We might not all necessarily love it, but it is the MCU. Now, we are getting Daredevil Born Again episodes coming out very soon, and they did release the first 6 episodes release dates. Starting with March 4th, we're getting 2 episodes. That is the first week this show releases. Then after that, March 11th, we are getting 1 episode. March 18th, we're getting 1 episode. And then March 25th, we're getting 2 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. And I am super excited for this show to return. And honestly, the reason why I'm most excited for the show, and everyone is going to think I'm completely wrong on this, and this is completely okay with me, I liked The Punisher more than Daredevil. I know, it's a hot take. I like The Punisher more than Daredevil. So to see Frank Castle, John Bernthal return in the role is going to be way more exciting for me than to see Daredevil in the show itself. I am super excited for him to come back. I even been practicing my Russo! I know. Super excited. Or maybe the 1 bitch, 2 bitch, penny in a dime. See? I know, I'm really excited for this show. So we got our release dates for that, and John Bernthal returning has left a lot of questions in people's minds. Now, particularly is if the Defenders are going to return in some capacity in the future. And so someone actually sat down with Brad Winderbaum, who is the part of the Marvel Studios, and he is part of the producers for the Marvel TV shows. And so he actually got to talk about if the Defenders are coming back. And so this is what he says. He says, can't say much, but I'll tell you that it's so exciting to be able to play in that sandbox, and saying that the Defenders will actually return in some capacity. Now, in case you didn't know, before they redid all of Daredevil Born Again, Jessica Jones is actually supposed to be in the original first season, and so she was already coming back. However, I think they pushed her back to be coming in this second season, which they actually start filming this upcoming Friday. So if you're watching this after this Friday, the show has already been started to film, and so we actually may be getting her back. They said Luke Cage plans are in the works, and they didn't say anything about Iron Fist, but if you're bringing everyone back, why not? I actually kind of enjoyed the first season. I don't think it was anything great, but I don't think it was as bad as many people say it is. And so the Defenders are coming back in the MCU. Are you excited for the potential return to see them all come back together? Let me know in the comments below. The next Marvel project that we have to talk about is actually not part of the MCU. It is actually Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is the next Marvel animated series that they released on Disney+. Now, when they first announced this show, I was thinking, man, this is really cool. We get to see the origins of Peter Parker in the MCU. And then they said that they're not doing that, which I thought was the dumbest decision ever. Now, after watching the show, I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I'm still not a fan of the animation at all. Honestly, I think that's the weakest part. I understand that it's supposed to look like a comic panel. Just for me, it still looks very clunky, and I wish we got more updated animation. I don't think the What If animation is it either. I think if we went more of like a X-Men 97 animation style, I think that would have been way better for the show's look itself. But I was really, really happy with the story and the character dynamics and everything that they set up in the back half of the second season. I can't wait to see how this next season plays out. And they've already said that season 2 and season 3 are in the works. And so we actually, after the ending of the first season, got some confirmation that a new character would appear in the show, and that is, of course, Gwen Stacy. So Gwen Stacy is going to be in the show. However, it's not just going to be Gwen Stacy. She's also going to be playing Spider-Gwen or Spider-Woman, however you want to pronounce it. And she's going to be a part of the new universe, or she's going to be a part of the new dynamic of the characters. So, as well as finishing out the plot lines that were set up at the end of the first season, we're adding in a new Spider character, which will be super interesting, and to see her work with other characters like maybe Harry Osborn or Nico. So I'm really excited to see how this show adds her in and what her dynamics are with actually Peter in the show. Is she going to be the new love interest, or are we going to keep going after the Pearl train? What is happening? But I did enjoy the first season, so I will be seated for the second. A lot of the news we've been talking about today is actually TV news, and so this is no different. However, these projects are currently not slated to come out, and so we're still continuing to talk about MCU news, but there has been 3 main shows, actually 4, that have been told that are not coming out in the near future, or have been put on pause, or have been put on the back burner, or just never going to see again. So there's 3 new MCU shows that we have just kind of heard discussions about behind the scenes, and then one that's kind of been silently canceled as it kind of went along. And so the first project up is actually the Nova series. Now, Nova is one of those characters I actually grew up with, and one of the other animated Spider-Man shows that we've got is actually the Ultimate Spider-Man. Now, I will say it's not the best Spider-Man show, but that is one that I grew up with, so it always has a place in my heart. And actually, we were met with Sam Alexander as one of the Novas. Now, this Nova is actually Richard Rider, who is the original one. And so this actual past week, before this show was actually put on the back burner or pause, we were told that Henry Cavill was in a mix for a role in this show. Now, we all assumed it was Richard Rider, but scoopers and other leakers have come out and said that he was actually going to be playing the villain called Annihilus. And I think that Annihilus will show up again. He's actually a huge Fantastic Four villain, as well as a Nova villain, but he could potentially be the next big bad of the MCU. So it doesn't mean that we're actually not going to see this character again, just this show is going to be put on pause. So that was one of the first shows that were paused this week. The other one of those shows that were paused was actually the Strange Academy. Now, this does sound very strange, but this show follows Wong and the Sanctum Sanctorum and also Carmitage, and he's training up the new generation of magicians or witches like American Chavez. Now, this will be him leading his own school, and it's kind of like a Harry Potter show, but unfortunately, this show was also paused because it does not fit the future of the MCU with what they want to do with the X-Men franchise, as well as the setting up the next Avengers movies. And so, unfortunately, this has been put on the back burner as well. I don't know if we'll ever see this one again. The next project that we're actually going to be talking about is something called Terror Inc. Now, this one was something that also no one asked for, or no one even knew was even going to be a thing. This wasn't even speculated by any of the people that could get movie news through Marvel, like all the scoopers or anything. This was just not on anyone's radar at all. But it was actually a show called Terror Inc. Now, Terror Inc., I had known nothing about this show, so I actually looked into it, and it's about a guy named Terror, and what he actually is a regular person that was killed, or that killed a demon, and the demon latched onto him to where he looked all green. Sounds stupid enough, but when he slices off people's body parts and uses them, he actually gains their powers. Yeah, it's supposed to be more of a horror show. I don't know much more about it than that, but I'm glad this is just one of those things that it didn't fit in the MCU in the first place. It was just something extra, so I'm fine without a horror show in the MCU talking about using people's body parts. Like, it's weird. So that was another project that we got canceled. Another project that I actually also wanted to talk about is MoonKnight Season 2. Now, MoonKnight is one of those shows that I loved the first half of it. I thought it was going really well. And then in the back half, it lost me when we were getting the Power Rangers big fight battle scene by the Egyptian pyramids. it just didn't work for me in the back half. But we did get a good cliffhanger saying that there was actually a third personality going along in the MoonKnight, and so he drove off and took the villain from the show and possibly killed him. So that was something that happened, but we did get confirmation that season 2 is unfortunately not in the cards for MoonKnight season 2. Now, I think this show could have done really well if they just reworked some of the story in the back half, or even gave us a couple more episodes. I think these 6-episode Disney Plus shows just don't work for the MCU format, and so I think if we got a couple more episodes detailing all of this information, we would have been a-okay. But this isn't the end for Moon Knight himself. There are speculations and talks about bringing him in a future project, and I actually think this future project is the Midnight Suns run in the comics. Now, Midnight Suns run is basically all of like the darker, more gritty characters in the MCU. So like Ghost Rider, Punisher's in there. I think Blade's in there. There's just a lot of people in this team, or on this team, and I think if we do that, it'll be good. But I wish we got a solid conclusion for Moon Knight and his personal story. So that is something I'm kind of disappointed about in the end. But Moon Knight season 2, we're not going to get a second season. What are your thoughts on that? Finishing out this movie news segment, we're actually going to be talking about a superhero project that is not in the MCU or the DCU, and that is actually going to be Hancock 2. Now, Hancock was one of those early 2000 superhero movies that I actually ended up liking as a kid when I grew up, and so I was really always excited to see Hancock 2, but they never made a sequel. And so this movie stars Will Smith in a role where he's actually an alien that is tied to another alien when they get married. And so what ends up happening is that when one alien gets hurt, the other one gets hurt. And so they're on Earth trying to save people, and when one of them gets hurt, they start dying. And so even if they get separated, they start dying again. And so there's a lot of things where they're just tied to another character, and that is their dynamic in the movie itself. It's super interesting. I don't explain it the best way possible, so if you're interested, go watch the original Hancock film and then return to this. But they are getting a sequel to this film finally, and Zendaya is in talks to star in a role in this film. They didn't say she's officially getting into this film yet. They were just asking her to be in it. So there is a lot of potential where Zendaya is actually not in this film at all, but it is confirmation that we are getting a Hancock 2, where actually it's being worked on in the back end of things. There is a lot to go on with this film. A lot of people are speculating that if Zendaya does join this movie, she would either be A, Will Smith's daughter in the film, or Hancock's daughter, or B, she's going to be another alien that comes down from the planet where Hancock originally originated, and she will end up being the villain of the film. Either way, I am down. I'm excited for a Hancock sequel. I think we should have gotten it years ago, but unfortunately, we never did. So that is the last part of movie news that we are going to be talking about today. There is a potential that this project does not happen. They're in very early development. They actually said that they are working on I Am Legend 2 first before they actually get into the Hancock sequel. So there's a lot that could potentially go wrong with the sequel, but that is some news that has happened in the past week. Now, that was all the movie news I have for you guys today. There is so much more that I actually had written down that I couldn't fit all in this video, so there's going to be a second video coming at the latest by Saturday. And so there's going to be so much that you guys will have to stay tuned for. So please remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There is a lot of stuff coming out for you guys there. And then if you want to hear any of my other videos, I have other movie news videos from the past couple weeks, as well as movie reviews from the beginning of this year. And I'm planning on doing way more as this year goes along. So stay tuned for more information. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked this video, go ahead and again, subscribe. And I hope that you guys stay safe out there.